G'day, I'm Jack. I'm a type 1 diabetic and I come from a family of diabetics. My dad's a type 1, I'm a type 1. Two of my three sisters are a type 1. My mum just became a type 3C, and my other sister, the one that's been feeling a bit left out of this family dynamic all her life, has just got gestational diabetes. And I'm visiting her right now to find out what that means. And between you and me, I think she's always wanted to be interviewed.
Hi.
Hi, Taylor. First
Hi.
of all, you're pregnant.
Yes.
That is sure that's real?
Does it look fake?
It looks huge. Taylor, do you feel like you're more a part of the family now that you have diabetes?
I do. I do feel like I'm finally a part of the family.
So, did you feel left out being the only one not with diabetes?
Look, as weird as it sounds, I kind of was. It was a big focus on the whole family members of everything that needed to be done. But it was a good education piece to also then raise awareness to all my friends and family and on what needed to be done.
What needed to be done?
Well, just lifestyle and eating, your diet, the difference between type 1, 2, 3C, and now gestational, and what it actually means to be a diabetic.
So, take me into the kitchen and answer that cat.
My inside cat, I'll just quickly let her in. Come on in. Well, I've got to test my blood, so do you want to get straight into it or do you want to sit down first?
Yeah, let's prove that you're a diabetic. Because I've checked my blood 1,000 times on this channel, but you haven't.
Well, technically, testing my blood would actually mean my results should be quite a good range if I'm managing it correctly.
While you're testing your blood,
Yep.
when did you find out? Did the doctors test to see if you had gestational? What's the process like?
Yeah, so when you are pregnant, every woman actually has to have a gestational test, a glucose test, and that is usually around the 28-week mark. And once you go in to see a doctor, you have to fast in the morning and then have a glucose drink, and then they test your blood throughout that 2-hour process to see how your body's reacted to that very high sugary drink. And then when my results came back, it was borderline being a diabetic. My body just was not using its insulin fast enough. So with lifestyle, they started me on a bit of a diet, and I changed a few things in my diets to see if I could help my body. But then they realized that my bloods were too high, so then they give me insulin to inject before dinner and then a long lasting overnight to just assist with my pancreas eating all those sugars that I'm eating throughout the day.
What's your blood sugars?
All right.
Are you still going?
Yep.
So gestational diabetes happens to 5 to 10% of all pregnancies, and Taylor's already had a baby, so this doesn't mean that it happens to one person for every pregnancy. Second pregnancy, and this happened to you for the first time.
Correct.
That is correct. And what is your blood sugars?
It is 6.5. And that is 2 hours, actually it was probably less than 2 hours after my my breakfast. So I would say that's probably a little bit too high, but it's not been 2 hours exactly, which I need to only test every 2 hours after each meal to see how my body's corrected itself.
And this is for all the diabetics out there, let's check out what you're using. You're using the Contour Next, which has great accuracy. They also told Taylor not to go on a CGM. Why?
The Libra?
The Libra, yeah.
Yeah. So I was very excited to start using the Libra, and when I did put it on, I actually thought it was a really good process that kind of gave me a whole range of what my blood is throughout the day. It was not accurate enough and it wasn't specific enough. It gave me a good range for a type 1, but for a gestational, it didn't give me that accuracy after 2 hours. So I then removed the Libra, and actually the finger pricking blood testing was more accurate and is mainly done with all gestational diabetic women.
That's nurses wanting accuracy over, I guess, a general lifestyle. Because it's also, they just want those numbers, those true numbers.
Of how my body's reacting to it, yes.
Fascinating. So, how do you manage high blood sugar? What insulins are you on?
So I'm on two different types. I'm on Nova Rapid and I'm also on Protophane.
Get it out. Whoa, wait. Let's have a look at that fridge. So they gave you
Probably like
a lot of insulin here because you're only going to be pregnant for another couple of weeks.
weeks, not even a month. So it's like 2 weeks or so. But they did give me, so from 28 weeks. So this is probably a lot more than I actually needed. And I actually collected it all. I probably shouldn't have collected it all. But I'm only going to, this is my second pen and this is my second Protophane contraption, which we'll probably go through in a
Really?
minute. Yes.
You've only had two, and you've got boxes of them.
Boxes of them, which is
Well,
excessive.
it's only if you knew a family of diabetics you could donate them to.
Lucky I do, but also it's also because every woman would be different. So I don't know if you're going to go through the backstory of what gestational diabetes is, but it is a hormonal change in my body that is now being resistant to my own insulin. So that's why I need some assistance. So every woman and every pregnancy would be different, which means they might need quite a lot, which means that's probably why I have so much, because I might need possibly 40 units at a time. And then also it could be up to around 20 units of Protophane.
Show us this one. This is fascinating. I've never seen one of these. We just fix this up. There we go. So this is how you dial up. So it's just like a pen, but a very different version of the pen, where you can see the pen cartridge in the back, the needle. It's all built in, so you can't really change that cartridge. And then you just dial it up like a oven timer.
Egg timer.
Egg timer. And then that green button will pop up when you load
do
it.
it.
Can I do it? Mm-hmm. So you can see the green button just popped up, and when I push that, it'll come out the bottom there. Mm-hmm. There you have it. I've never seen one of these before. I think it's very steampunk looking. I kind of like it. But it's a different disposable pen.
I think
Anyway.
it's very old school, yeah.
Back to you, Tails.
And then so then I've got just the normal Nova Rapid. So I would give this, at the moment, I started on 4 units before dinner. And then I jumped up to 12 units before dinner. But now, because I'm closer to my due date or labor date, it is actually going down again, which is now I'm on 10 units before dinner. And then with the Protophane, once again, it started off at around 6 units, and then I went up to 12, and now I'm going back down to 10, and that's to have overnight for my long lasting.
Your long acting, yeah.
My long acting. So yeah, they usually say that you start off small, you get quite high, and then you can kind of start to drop down when your body is nearing your due date, which I also found quite interesting because I guess the hormones are all changing and everything's kind of moving, that I'm not needing as much insulin. But it's been mainly a lifestyle change of making sure that I'm more aware of the starchy white potatoes, the chips, the white pastas, my multigrain bread, not having unnecessary sugars like chocolate and Pop-Tarts and stuff like that, and juices and sodas and stuff like that. But other than that, it's quite manageable.
What's it like? So you've experienced diabetes through us vicariously, and we always known you as the one with a phobia of needles. Mm-hmm. And now that you've had to do it and, live a diabetic lifestyle temporarily, how do you feel? Do you feel like it's harder than what you were led to believe living with a family full of diabetics? Or do you find that you've found a bit of you've just accepted it and it's part of your life now?
I feel like it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I've had my ups and downs. When I first was told that I was a diabetic, it was upsetting, as I guess most of you all have been, to know that just life is just become a little bit more complicated. It's just a new way of doing things and then having to really learn how to do it properly, even though I have been around it all my life. And also just being pregnant and having another issue, because now I'm considered as high risk and the baby might be bigger and my due date might be earlier. So all of those things kind of came into account. I had my downtime, but then I kind of realized I can do this and I have to do this, not just for me, but also for the life of my baby. So I had great support around me with family members and the educator and also my doctors. I learned it all again, I guess, for myself, because it is different to a type 1. But I think it's not as bad as I really originally thought it was. It's really quite manageable. If anything, I might keep some of these lifestyles of diet in my life, including with my family as well. I think the negative part I've noticed throughout the last few weeks and months of being diabetic is just the obsession about food and having to always think about when your next meal is and if you've got food on you, if you've got it in the car, making sure that your bloods are at a decent level, and also just always thinking about food. I've never really needed to go on a diet or obsess about food, but I feel like being a diabetic in any aspect, your life's completely surrounded by food and what you're eating in your mouth and how that's going to affect your body and your blood. So other than that, I don't think there's pretty much anything negative to say about it. I had to get over my phobia of needles, and that took maybe a few times to be okay with it, but now it's good. I've noticed when I have to do my injections or my blood sugars after my shower, I've noticed that the blood comes pouring out because your body's probably a lot warmer. And also the importance of changing your needles, because then it doesn't hurt as much.
It's true. It's true. If you change your needles and you're not lazy, it doesn't hurt as much. It is an eye-opening experience. That's awesome. Do you have any advice for anyone who's newly diagnosed as with gestational diabetes? If it's a mental thing, if it's any tips or tricks?
I think it would be upsetting for any woman, I guess, to find out that there is another element to her pregnancy. To go through those emotions, be upset, but also then use that as a good knowledge or a way of learning more about this. Speaking to other women, I've actually been quite surprised at how many of my girlfriends that were diabetics and I didn't even know from being pregnant. So just learning their tips and tricks, or even just what they've done. Some of them just needed to change their diet and they didn't need insulin, and then others actually needed insulin for every meal. So it really just depends on your body, because you can't have any control, as you know, being pregnant, and listening to the doctors, reading up about it, and doing the little things from the start, like your little diet, making sure you're exercising, testing your blood, and really making sure that you have a good holistic picture of what your body is needing, and being open for the changes, because you're not always going to be the same blood and the same insulin. It's going to be evolving just like your pregnancy. And it's not too bad. It's been a positive change.
Also, theoretically, for most women, once the babies are born, the diabetes goes away.
Correct.
And it also doesn't mean the baby will get diabetes.
No, but I mean, like it's not a guarantee. So they do say, a lot of women have said to me, actually, including doctors, that as soon as that baby's out and that placenta's out of your body, your hormones are completely changed and your pancreas does start operating back to normal. But your baby and yourself will be monitored with blood sugars while you're in the hospital, making sure that the baby's fine. And then you have another checkup 6 weeks, and then after another 2 years, you have another checkup to make sure that you've not then become a type 1 or a type 2. But if you are having very high bloods, and it is because that's another thing, being high risk, is that if you have a lot of high bloods, your baby becomes a larger percentile baby, which means they'd normally be hypoing when they come out. But obviously you're in good hands. They kind of sort that out with the tests of the heel and give the baby some glucose, and then it's back to normal. And also breastfeeding also helps with them regulating their pancreas and their sugars, because they're not relying on the insulin that I'm providing them.
Taylor, I think you just became an expert in diabetes and you've just got it.
Well, I do. But only for a certain amount of time, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers
but actually,
crossed.
Back to your question before, the fact that it's been a good trial process of being a diabetic for someone who wasn't a diabetic before. So if I do become type 1, which I do have the identical genes as my dad, so I probably will get late onset diabetes, type 1, that it's been a good trial process of knowing what needed to be injected, my blood sugars, exercising, my lifestyle. So if it's coming for me, I'm ready for it.
Nice. Now let's see that belly. That is huge. I can't wait to meet the little nephew.
Yep. Me too.
Awesome. Thanks, Sales.
No problems.
That's my sister. She's finally joined the family.
Woohoo!
And you're
Finally being interviewed.
finally getting an interview. Awesome. Are you going to film me? No. You can have this one.